Don't make him louder than me. Well, does it always show the always show this on the side? Do we need to see the, I don't know. Why does it show, when the slide is showing it gives you the menu on the side? Ah, okay.
He's expert.
Smart screen.
This is the only thing he knows.
Okay, but he knows it well.
But at least, unlike me, he knows something.
Right.
That's true, that's true.
The fox knows many things, but he knows one thing.
You're
the fox. You know many things.
You're very optimistic. You give me hope.
Okay.
Otherwise, I thought the world is no.
Well, you don't live where I live. There's not much hope in the last 3 months.
What?
Well,
having got such a great president,
still
you're complaining?
You get the president you deserve, I suppose. What does that say?
What did that say? Exactly. You chose him.
Yeah.
So don't complain.
Not me, but collectively. 72 million people picked him.
Yeah, exactly. So does that say that 72 million people made the right choice, or are they crazy? Or
it's like what they say: eat shit. 100 billion flies can't be wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why there is no real democracy. It's all mobocracy.
It's overrated.
Mobocracy. It's all operated with the use of money, manipulation, all kind of things, and stupid, narrow-minded nationalism.
Yeah.
창말의 인구들의 니 드링 안조 니마 순백이니 적든 순백이니 총두디니 디니 고주이. So I welcome you all to the third session of the third day. 제잔다 적든 디 톨라니 안조 니 담시 징이 수미 기슬락돌라체 니 게겐 추모게 크리스팀비체 니 같이 리즈누 우스미 디나로니 담시 통마싱이데 수차들으니 게겐 추모게 크리스팀비라 차드유 게 크리스팀비도 차츠원니 텐다이차네니 아리텐시 체베니 애리조나 줄라 톨롭기니 게겐 추모 까르체릭베기 게겐 추모 차데요레 니 게겐 쿠랑기니 단다바도니 체릭당 데베니 믹세다 까르체다 낭시릭바 기 조시 톨라니 차베 줄하 삼사샤 대신이 코랑기니 낭시릭바다 까르체릭바당 데베니 냠시 좀쇼 갸라시 튼사샤 디 냠시 좀쇼 튼조 상마야니 직 까르체릭바다 낭시릭베기니 케완도 조기니 망부기니 댕조 숙침부 톱세기니 냠시 좀쇼 샤다 샤데샤 대대신이 개인 코란도 찾아오는 이동 개인이 지내당 안주기니 근데베치도 세력을 차례 다나신 벽이 변적한 게 세력을 내잖는로라니 냠슈징의 임바치니 안주기 레시나 다다바도니 텐 쪽숨신 냠슈치 얘기 고급 중샤 제자니 so brief introduction of Professor Christian P. He is currently the professor at Arizona University, and he has more than 10 books, science books, and then one fiction as well. And then he has, published more than 100 research articles on the cosmology and astronomy. Many of them are, highly regarded in the community of astronomy and cosmology. And not only that, he has been an ardent supporter of our program for last many years, beginning from 2008, and he has been with us for he has been with us for more than around 13 times. So he's very old friend of our program, and he is here again. So without taking much time, I request him to begin his talk. And his topic is on the life beyond Earth. Ni pegenangulani kolale debe ni sesogi chungne roshita. Oh, dinde kitorani geletam shinangri. Please begin.
Thank you. It's great to be here and see old friends, old faces, not old faces, young faces. So thanks, of course, to the people who make this program what it is, His Holiness, Bobby Sager and his foundation, Geshe-la. Bryce Johnson not here, but he invited me in 2008 for the first time. And of course, we have many translators and organizers, Karma and Paulden, do amazing work for this program. So my brief was Life Beyond Earth, but I'm not going to talk about the search for life beyond Earth, which is so far away, as Linda said this morning, it's not really relevant to everyday concerns. I'm going to give a status report on our early attempts to leave the Earth. And I'm going to frame this quite carefully because the prime directive is to take care of the home planet. There's no question about that. But what's happening is interesting, and it's worth just doing a little snapshot, a survey of where we are in our technology to try and leave the planet and explore and learn about other places. So that's what I'm going to talk about. Leading towards the interplanetary life. Oh, we don't have my slide. It's funny, because we were working on this for an hour. Okay, good. So I'm going to talk about the state of space. And the thing to remember is this is a young human activity. We've had space travel for only as long as we've had computers. Industrial revolution is a few hundred years old. And most of the history of space program was very strange. It was a geopolitical rivalry between the world's two superpowers at the time, the United States and Russia. Only 650 people have ever experienced zero gravity, the thrill of zero gravity. 10 times more people have stood on the summit of Mount Everest. So we're looking at the state of something that is in its very early stages. And I'm going to try and play out a long future towards the end of the talk. It's also a strange activity because it's dominated by billionaires. 3 moguls, Richard Branson, who started the spaceship company, not quite as prominent because he's only doing suborbital flights. Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, and of course Elon Musk, the founder of SpaceX. Each of these people have invested $1 billion of their own wealth each year to keep their companies afloat, while they do not yet have a commercial operation where they generate revenue. And that's a very strange way to talk about something because we don't know how it'll play out. It's first worth remembering that gravity is strong and leaving the Earth is hard, and space travel is hard, and more often you fail than succeed. So these rockets that are now being built exceed anything that's ever been done before. And what's important is that they are 100 times more cost effective in terms of the amount you have to spend to get a kilogram into Earth orbit. And these rockets are huge. The biggest Starship rocket of SpaceX will be bigger than the Saturn V rocket that took astronauts to the moon over half a century ago. And these are giving us new capabilities to get into Earth orbit and then beyond. It's tricky being in space, though. You have to be careful. The economics of this, of course, are driven by extremely wealthy people. And we can question their motives, we can question their goals, their altruism, their ethics, and all sorts of things. But they are doing it on their own account. They are spending their own money on it, and they are committed to this activity. Collectively, the world's billionaires are worth over $12 trillion, which is an extraordinary amount of money. And it's not a coincidence that the two major private space companies are owned and run by the two richest people on the planet. I was interested in the analogy between space travel and entertainment because it's likely that the first business model for leaving the Earth will be for tourism, recreation, when the cost comes down. And so I gathered data over the history of space between the average cost of a Hollywood movie and the average cost of a space mission. And interestingly, those curves crossed about 6 years ago. So the average Hollywood movie now costs more than the average space mission, which is an interesting statement. And when I want to make people convinced that astronomy and space is worth spending money on, I make this comparison circled here. If you had $250 million, you could hire a really good director to make a movie about life on an exomoon, Avatar, James Cameron, or you could fund NASA's Kepler mission, which actually found hundreds of Earth-like planets. The movie and the science, they cost the same, which makes the science a good deal. The future is here. Here's the history of space launches since Sputnik. You can see the rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union eventually eclipsed and now lapsing to sort of second world state. And then the emergence on the right in the last decade of China. Also, on the lower part, you see the commercial space activity, which started more than the recent history might suggest in the news headlines several decades ago. But it has now reached the point where the future is right here. So the last 2 years have seen more launches to Earth orbit than any year since the beginning of the space program. So this is all happening very rapidly and around us. And what's really driving it is the lowering cost of getting into orbit. So this is a logarithmic curve, and the cost of getting a kilo into Earth orbit has dropped by a factor of 10 in the last decade. And if you project this curve, then it is going to be essentially free, or so low that an average person could afford perhaps the vacation of a lifetime in Earth orbit, if that was their choosing. So this is transforming this sector. What's on the horizon? Well, we could go to the moon, of course. Now, there are no rules, there's no laws in space. The United Nations only ever had 2 treaties, one banning nuclear weapons, which was good, 1965, and the other dealt with ownership in space, but only for governments. It didn't talk about companies or people. And so basically, it's a Wild West. Anyone can own anything or say they own anything. And so it's going to be commercial. It's not going to be very pretty, I think, what will happen out there. We may also be able to build a space elevator. And if you're looking for silver linings in this mogul-driven activity, you could take the space elevator as an example. This is a cable projected above Earth orbit, which using solar-powered lifters can carry material into Earth orbit, essentially for free, just for the cost of the solar power. And what use is this? Well, obviously, it gets you into Earth orbit for the cost of nothing, no rocket fuel. But as far as solving a very big problem of the Earth, when you had such a thing, which might take 30 years, 40 years, you could lift radioactive and toxic waste into Earth orbit, send it gently into the sun, and solve that problem forever. If you ask what we do with toxic and radioactive waste right now, rich industrial countries sell it at a bargain to poor countries in Africa and elsewhere. dumping their problem on someone else. So this is a problem we could solve with a space elevator, quite a big one. And we eventually will go to the moon and Mars with bases, and it'll be interesting because this strange environment will lead to genetic manipulation. It'll lead to people altering their genomes, hacking their genomes, if you like, a genetic experiment the like of which we've never seen before. They will be very technology forward, these first people living in these remote locations. They will 3D print tissues, bones, and organs. They'll do their own medicine, and we don't really know how this will play out. If you're looking for another silver lining in this activity, the fact of living for any length of time off Earth means you have to be so parsimonious with your resources. You have to recycle everything. You have to live off the land, that these could be lessons we could apply on the Earth. Because on the moon or Mars, you have to mine the soil for oxygen to breathe, for water to drink, for building materials, to grow food hydroponically. So it's a very self-contained living style, something that may have lessons for back on the home planet. And eventually, maybe not in the next 10 years, maybe in 30 or 40 years, there'll be jobs on Mars. And even though none of us may get to Mars in our lifetimes, we can just visualize the beauty of that environment. But remember, Mars has a sting in its tail. There are things that aren't going to happen here. There's the idea of turning Mars into a green planet like the Earth. It's technically feasible. No laws of physics are broken doing this, but the cost and the time taken to do this will be prodigious. It's not going to happen. And then there are the ideas of space wheels living in orbit, tens of thousands of people in a self-sustained ecosystem. And that, of course, is also probably not going to happen. This is an image from the 1970s by a NASA artist. But I think eventually we will get to the interplanetary life. So we can all take the long view. Buddhists are familiar with long time scales, a kalpa. Maybe it won't take a kalpa. But at some point, we can have an interplanetary society. And perhaps, with a new start, a new origin, a new branch of the human species, we can solve some of our problems and get a new start. It not out of the Western capitalist mindset of accumulation. Perhaps there will be a global, cosmic Buddhist culture. That would be interesting. What would that look like?
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. Ground control to Major Tom. Commencing countdown, engines on.
Some of you in the room are here.
Check ignition and may God's love be with you.
Hey, Geshe's in charge of this. The adventure is just beginning. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chris Simpi, for a very interesting and eye-opening
He's speechless.
yes, I'm really speechless. For next, we have Geshe Laktola, which I don't think we need an introduction. Tatamshe jimanangi de Geshe Laktola chadure ni penzugi ngedemba ni da Geshe Laktola ngoma kenyi mewa sonzang Geshe ni tegar tamshe de kuzuru chi ishu.
He doesn't want me introduce me. So thank you for your entertaining, meaningful presentation. As a true Buddhist, I don't want to use all this paraphernalia. We should meditate and think. No need to translate my talk because I will speak in hybrid language, a little bit Tibetan, a little bit English. I really have nothing much to say, although there are many. I read so many books, but it's too long. Ta tangbo nganzo di rembe sowa sena chikyabdowa sustainable lifestyle se di ta junchungi junchang tuyege sowa kandi chegore se keja dikhe yungdu ta nganzo tengsa mangbo chigi yarje tangores ta kale jagores yarje tangne yarje le tayo mares ta dogres ti labgyor ta nujabege ta ngozo mawasu labi sobochik re de yarji tangore se di yarji tangye de na sim gi yarji tangore sego marwa tan di chingubo yarji tangore sego ro jacob soso ina ya lore ge yungbob de lo takbar chi yarji dore sego re ti ngune samlo yakbo tangwa ina hira chome ke che chado re kanse na chingubo yarji tangye singe chingubo di ji hingna ina re terga ina re cho ina re dosu samma chejen re cheme mare 세진직이 ngobo직네 체맥이 열기 간데서 세진직네 체맥 열기를 매선 제벌 때네 다단데 세진기 ngobo디게 때가이나래 싱나이나래 추이나래 디게 탐마도 조부찬 당 배디 시부직 jasa chenpo yin yarje yosesa disu nangla chu tungye chu di tsokwa. Yar ngubiye ge lung di tsokwa. Tende chado yorda. Tende chado yorda taharangi shira xie mogo kenchi rari, kecha mangu shira rang xie mogo kenchi, taharangi ha kutuwe shidwa. Chidu ta nga do kange di kari tohne yungu yorese na, kange di mi susu gi chala karin zukdun che de maji, ngubo karin nyo de minyo, di takcho che rangwaan di nga zo susu liyo mara laksar. Yang mena di takcho che la choge nyamle inare, yang na gom nyamle inare, doshun chokshi inare, samlo mango chitani, taa diksung disam yin taa mugo se takcho che jizu mila rewa nangyi di ngumari di, kala kazam takcho che nipa yoro, di nga zo wangchala nipa diyo mara. 다 가리 녀다 메뉴 샤모 가리 교연다 메고 주다 가리 교연다 메고 와 지 강박 간데 지나래 데데메데 상와 컴퍼니 두zu 탁주 시행 거래 캡다 탁주 시행 거래 아니 컴퍼니 두zu 가리라와다 캡다 가리체바 디젤랑도 저는 녀네 아니 베데다 추속과 친유메 다게 여 말에 룽속과 친유메 다게 여 말에다 딘데 제제다 가도 문에탄에 깔래 가고 휴지 샤도요 락바르도 단도 잠블링 디 나올로기 지가 뭐보다 지가 세제되네 세맥이 배에 삼로다네 코리우다 상말은 냠녀지 쏙바단 등에 망쇼데 야급 추효 인생에 두서래 미나네는 미벤주로 체효 두서 쏙바속인 상마 그도 배주단 거래 민염중 두서기 히다 여말에 그들 니바 닝제 주잘라 뉴에기 니바 여말에 쏙바소에기 니바 여말에 다 노중 쪽이 춘에 매딩에 두서기 쏙바소 그러다 당부시나 다 두서랑 가도기 왕도 규르트웨 근데 여말다 강에 뒤쳐들다 그게 막 위에는 마시나. So the point that I'm making is that when we talk about a sustainable lifestyle, this should be reflected against the notion that you should make as much progress as possible. Sky is the limit. Go ahead. That is our tendency when it comes to material development. And every country talks and thinks about that the country's GDP or NDP, whatever, should increase every day. Not thinking, not realizing the source from which you're going to make the development is physical and material. Material, physical resources are, by definition, limited resources. How are you going to make unlimited progress from limited resources? You are going to kill the environment, deplete the natural resources. That is the tragedy that we are facing. To make the matter worse, when we talk about adopting a sustainable lifestyle, individuals should have that capacity to decide when to stop, when to say no. They should have some sense of contentment. Enough is enough, things like that. But unfortunately, majority of us don't decide what we should be buying, what we should be buying from the market. What kind of caps you should buy, what kind of shoes you should wear, what kind of shirt you should wear. These are all decided by the company, the market. You go to these shops and sheepishly, I call it shopping coma. And with this shopping coma, in a almost like a zombie, you just buy one free, okay. Right? So in this way, we are not necessarily bad, but we don't have the data, we don't have the proper information, we don't have the inner conviction. So therefore we become a slave to the material greed. As Mahatma Gandhi said, there is enough for everybody's need, not enough for everybody's greed. And it is the greed that is destroying everything. And much of the destruction of the environment is done by the rich countries, by the rich people. I don't have to really explain about all this. That is one point that we need to think. The second point that we need to think is, recently I was giving a talk to a group of last year, end of last year, I gave a talk to a group of Iranians here in Dharamsala. So I spoke about the same topic. There was a gentleman who said, you don't have to worry about this, now we have science and technology. Yes, true, science and technology made some contribution, but the impact, the negative impact, I think is more than the positive impact. As you mentioned, the genetic engineering, cloning, I mean, these are really risky. And it looks like because of our lifestyle, there's no option left. Because the population is increasing, demand is more, greed is more, so you need so many productions. The only way is to use technology to produce as much as possible, not seeing how good the quality is. I mean, think about cloning. If you produce a child through cloning, who is father, who is mother? There's no physical father, no physical mother. So many issues like that, This is such a topic, which really needs. I'm really thankful, Karma, for giving me this topic. That inspired me to do more work on this, so that we can publish more, clear-cut, explained books, so that we are able to contribute towards developing some kind of awakening. So that is the problem. So therefore, the Buddhist solution, I need to say a few words from Buddhism. In the Buddhist text, number one, unless you become a person who cares more about others than oneself, if you don't have that, solution is not possible. If you think, I need this, it's all for me, I don't care about the environment, okay. This is not my responsibility. Let others go to wherever they want to go, That's the problem. So therefore, in the Buddhist text, especially in Abhidharma, it's clearly mentioned about the destructiveness of obsession with the sensual objects. It says, for example, wild animal like a deer, with its attachment to the sound, music. In ancient times, the deer is very attached to the music, and then the hunter plays a music, goes there, and caught there, trapped, just having attachment to the sound. Similarly, just because of attachment to the touch, an elephant is enslaved. If you massage and touch the elephant, it lies down, then human beings chain the elephant and enslave it, just to the touch. Then because of attachment to the form, a butterfly dies in the butter lamp. Seeing the butter lamp as a beautiful mansion, goes there and dies. And then the taste. A fish is caught by the bat, piece of meat that is there, just by the taste. Then the house flies and others, they are excessively attached to the smell, and they get stuck there, and hundreds and thousands dies there. Then it says, look, with just one attachment to one of the sensual objects, you can lose your life. Now, how about human beings? We are attached to all the 5 sensual objects, almost like hopeless. And this also reminded me one quotation from Nagarjuna in his letter to the friend. Mini yangda nyu du mideshing mida dami meza rigbarji tema nyavar masha nam jene chinchi lochitawa pungtol was. And that stanza says, human beings are truly not well at all. Because number 1, impermanent. And number 2, selfless. Number 3, impure. And number 4, not well. So therefore you need to be mindful. You need to meditate. Because if you go to the wrong way, seeing impermanent as permanent and things like that, this is relevant here. Because nobody thinks about dying. I need this swimming pool, I need this house, So therefore, if you go into the wrong, the perverse way of thinking, this is source of your ruination. So therefore, what is really important is contentment, moderation, simplicity. This is not to say don't enjoy life, but how much you can enjoy. There's another Buddhist quotation, beautiful quotation there, where he addresses the king by saying, "Oh king, you are very wealthy right now, but you did not bring this wealth from your previous life. And when you die also, you are not going to take all this wealth with you. So why don't you share, and why don't you have some contentment and moderation?" These are beautiful, beautiful teachings, right? So therefore, the point that I really want to make is, it is this unchecked greed, unchecked desire towards an object which has limitation, material objects. 다 낭주 내 해봐 낭시 잖아 오늘 열게 땅 거서 심게 열게 땅에 심게 열게 땅에 타매만 줘요. 될 더중 초시 때 열게 배주 땅에 매워지. 그러와 다 세용에 타용에 조주요 등에 들라 더주 초시 매워지. 갑자기 콜로 찾아. 지도다 나도 낭주나니 해봐 낭시 잖아 지삼지 랑게 셈라 때서 여러 조상도 수림다 가세도 때서 용도 땅에다 근데 내룩 때서지 해나 에네 강에도 세게 탑람지 얘기를 무분 내룩 시부직 제고래서 낭주에 따고래서 좀세데 무분 내룩 마시나 다 가르마고 가리여지스네 친구보기 타다스 가지마고 가지 sö나야 내 가상게 운제 그 담시에 갑라 해죠 안에 등상 그 투지도 막부 통인데 해도 당부시나 다 등상 artificial intelligence 다 지그래 시부시가 지도 와 다 수비주다 그래도 수원도 줄그래도 나제 첨부 요되게 망고치는 공달러인다 공 국발이야 망고치네 고티 인신에게 두수게 원줄 세디요 두수 원줄 제발 때는 다 막진 순발 리그레스 등상까지 해야 돼 두텐선제 유그레스 신서 해야 돼 we have right now more than declared 13,000 atom bombs nuclear warheads. So the point that I'm making is the so-called technological development, science. I welcome science, but unfortunately science, ordinary people don't have much access to science. They have access to technology, and they are controlled by the technology, the mobile phone, whatever. And then the so-called development, including artificial intelligence. I don't deny some of the benefits also. I'm not trying to throw the baby with the bathtub. But what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, these are controlled by the so-called rich and powerful people. Most of are unfortunately stupid. Because they don't have sense of responsibility. They don't really have long-term vision. On the one hand, they try to, flex their muscle and through the atom bomb, this and that, but they themselves have prepared bunker to hide. Am I exaggerating? If they are so great, so brave, come in the battlefield. So therefore, when we talk about this importance of sustainability, spending a lifestyle that is sustainable, it's a wonderful thing. I'm not giving you a pessimistic, bleak picture. It's an uphill task, but at the end, I think my time is over. At the end, what I want to say is, it is important to give more information related to your very life. It may be costing your life. It's not talking about after 3,000 years something will happen. It's not like that. So therefore, when we talk about sustainability, many thinkers, they say it's an urgent issue, not something that you should deal after a long, long time. It's an urgent issue. And we will understand that urgent issue only when we ourselves experience that problem, difficulty. 다 미기 강에 가르쳐나 소소랑을 동해 첨보지 COVID-19 소로 동해 첨보지 마냐나 이 세금도 와 COVID-19 게 가지고 희부직 랍제 잡송아 지도 제값 예바 체험도 와 지도 사용자용도 제값 예바 체험도 와 제가 랑신기 땐tem기 예바 체기요 말에 예바 체기 미국방 가라서 저 가르버래 저 낙버래 저 장고래 저 세로래 저 불에 저 부모래 저 제값 샤래 너버서 예바 가지고 체디기도 와 제땅아도 낭수가 나는데 땅아도 냠레트마도 내수 가가르마도기 배드 콜라직줄 등사 희부직게 찾아지 시고도 콜라직줄 개게 말해 낭수나 성로다 낭수가 마줄 셈제 탐제세고 희부직 랍심부기 도와 지도 땅아도 견디 보면 남버스 대요래 디시도 어떻게 박수게 힘들 휴에게 낭수가 따르디 토네 락렌 토네 힘지 휴에게 망부요래 두수직 제고도 삼거도 니와데 중자네 어저 딱봐 송도 장자 소게진자 시에마 되시네 단에 송데 빵도 두고 말해 단에 송데 네 플라스틱도 시라 표주 당게메스 단에 송데 가 샤세 용도 당게스 빵 시게메 데 빵 세데 각보래 로 데 용도 당게스 디 직대 스테이지 고래 당고시네 네타도 when for example if you look at the fashion industry when we talk about this environmental degradation pollution then when think about these contributing factors, just yesterday I was watching this awful situation in Sweden. of the fashion industry. The dumping from the fashion industry is so overwhelming, they are not able to handle it. It's yesterday's news. Because you come up with all these cheap products of different designs, this, that, fashion, and then you dump it, all this. So there we need really more study and properly understand how this is more or less a life and death question. It's not like telling a fairy tale. So we need to understand that, and then accordingly, whatever steps we are able to take, we need to take it. During one of the Science for the Monks program, at the end of around the end of the project, we really made so many commitments. Do you have those photos? I was thinking that we should have it here also, but not possible this time. But that was you were there. We wrote so many small on piece of paper. We should do this. We should publish it and distribute so that this will remind other people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kishila, for this insightful talk. Kishila lani ning tapani katin shishui. So ni jeme damshe nangi ni kajimba rinzinula chade ni rinzinula ro chatso ni nganzu gini ta tsirig leshi thongma kapita tsirig ngoto leshi lach tsuro ni dong di nidong lo ni chen tsirig ngoto leshi de zuko tsuwe ko tsirig ngoto leshi nanglo la nyamshu chegen gini ngundu bacha de ore dawana shi ni ngaranzu kita gendu beche to tsirig leshi di nanglo la ni ta leshi ngazu lupten simbe leshi lasok be leshi minra wa shis tola ni nyamshu chenyungsha ni Quran ki tring ki jushi di kharcha di ore sewa ni gundu be ni kuriu neti ba la de ta monastic climate leader la de. So Kachin Rinzin Nubu is from Trashudumpa Monastery in South India. He has been part of a science introductory course at the beginning of this program, and then also he took part in a few of our program, including monastic science graduate program. So today he will talk on the monastic monks climate leader. So please, stage is yours.
동인이 주벨람 제사자 간전된데고 차나베마 딘진겨서라 소아드 수천도 제주 돌아 니집에 또 맞아 맞아라 안 주버주방문에 또네 아니 드리츠 아니 돌렌디 치위가베 아니 켈레저 남바다 안 다나지 아니 기둥이 대수메데 아니 보기 벤저가 인게도 바기실라도 제베 아니 레전 남바다 아니 저저 용라 아니 니무들레 주에 아니 ngarangi joji dia da gidimbe ani namsigi ani goti ani adi ani jojaji dine ani genga magi dine shiraji jugido di dani nancho dani denstangi tarik danyamdo ani drene ani juna samson chidangarang sari jayadi ani ge chadil juana jine toma di ngarani science mi dharma gune and those Sarilani and Kala. Combaki Dani, Danaji, and Gidubatan, to me, let him give and Gune, and a subjon and then a mambush. The Lanko Juso, and then Ajani, and you don't choose soon as Zoani, Immediate Tibet Science Initiative Learning, also than the Imurigi, and a Tomar, and a Gondekalani, Sarilagi, Lishigutsune, Tena. Nyamjuchene and that and Jordan Begalare. Danaji, you don't do any to the Nyamjigi and Lechen on la Nyamjuche, and Dinalolan, Sarita, and Dinegi Jai, Mambo, Mambo, Joson, Jain. And Danye Juadiani, Nanjodani, Sadi, Nigini, Zumjigida, Legis, and College Saidu. So ani nanchegi ani longo nidong abya ani yamene so ani ado dembatse ya dana ani so de nanchu dingara so ani lo nidong abya dringla ani so gi mi ganza chi geni semgyu digani dugu meda dine tolani dono shuk cheche done ani dingala gara na sim de yerge gani tangjo ko di ani di gong la demba sene ani dogen ji chawa da na ji ani sari di ani chi ngo be gi yarge kan dang go du an di la ani toship che ani di ngal he ani research na kare che na di gong la chen dogyo cha song sang ani di ni ga ani zungde du ani kyone ni ga zungde du ani ni ga gi ani demba sewa di ani chiksu ba song sang 아니 니가 중제 유도 아니 저 아니 칼라 딩자 제 교네 아니 가라 저 삼로 단쳐 어디 간에 주선하나 다나 아니 베기 벤저 강기 위년데 다다 기둥 바다 주메 차리 레림디 아니 년에 달로 니상하스 거도 아디 나로랑 아주 차리 반냠도 아니 까모주야단 나베케와기 아니 차리 반냠도 까모주 파저 두두 망보시체 네 아니 가라 저 투몽기 아니 켈리아다 망보시요 손상 디 땡라테네 아니 가라 저 켈렌도야 대한 뭐 자기도 아니 소자는 다다가 값수 바와디 아니 가서 아니 골레 아니 강라니 다 남시 규도기 아니 강알 망보 테두 삼발라 디테디 강알 세디 아니 차리 바지 보레벨라나 디기오 마레 아니 나바상게 바지 보레라나 용이 마레 아니가 중데도 아니 초 좀체니 니게기 아니 레굴 카니지 페고도 아니 이니셔티브 카니지 랭고도 아니 디 아니 자리 따져되다 나죠 따져 니게 거네 아니 니야디 게치 모스 동게 돌아 아니 가라조 낭베 아니 나바상게 베 아니 중루네 아니 가라조 삼보 당당지나 아니 다 코리우데라 노게 아니 카네 중기요 메라이디 가라조서 사베 뇨모 버숨데라 뚝디요라 아니 당기 쇼에 망보 망자기 아니 숭성 디와 당게 나레 망자기 숭기도 소 아니 뇨모 뚝숨데레스 아니 뇨모 뚝숨 나네 아니 다 도자 아니 제당 공도 다 된적이 아니 다 가라주 아니 다 도마데 아니 마리바 도메 마리바라 다 소자디 도메 마리바 인도 삼발라 아니 도메 마리바디 가라주 아니 크류다 아니 골라 아니 가르다 남시 교도다 데나 카니스 켄티교라나 아니 당가라즈 지당 마릭발라디 거랑 아니 유라 진질로도 짐베 아니 디샤도 삼발라 아니 가르 유게 넬루도 아니 양다바 마시도 삼발라 강알 마보 테체 아니 가라즈 아니 카본 다이옥사이드 마보 아니 페툰제다 아니 데네로 강알 마보 테데기도 아니 저 된당가랑기다 아니 tape jadi to di ladaki namsida dina peja chani dana ngara Himalayan nalolani ani climate change tolani kangal mambo chedi yore adi tola jugo samsung ani dana je ani lada de je chawana ani namshi gyudo ani shukchmo tebalatene ani kyagrum din zo juya nirpo chane ani danda chui kangal tia dana je ani chulo kya ta din mangpo ji jungyo re ani den zo kangal chia de chang azu pa zu ani sangye sung ani sungyo cho den ja panjun en tene jungyo re ani ngarang zu ani mari be wangi ani kangal de yu mangpo ji sa ba tene de bu ding ngarang zo nyong go de ngarang zu nyo mari ngarang zu yayen de ani mi nyam ta ani semje nyam ta de zo cha chang ji nyang go do da na ji de nang ba sangye junglu ne ji go mare ani climate science konsogia ani saja chigla ani namshi gyudogi kanga shukchmo tesona ani saja jambatilani shuken tigires ani konsogi ka nitu ani nisujina dishigdo Himalayan nalola ani gungar ani kangkazu bab la tene ani yarkala Amazon forest nala ani chawa shukchejung ana dila ani dewa yore sungdo chida Himalayan la da Amazon la da be 도초라 베 잠불링기 다 디네지라 안 강갈 쳐야 되가 저 안에 하고도 다나지 안 도자 디기레 다 도자는 디자이어 레다 아주 단 차전 메바디 아니 차전 메발라 때네 아주 얘기 아니 강갈 망보 슈즈테 응게레 단단가 데다 파리딘서 망차지 라다기 파리 차기요 아니 라다도야지 에나 니마 나에나 다 롱어 니슈숨 중올에나 아니 유고도 좀봐 뉴뉴체 아니 델라드네 미 그런서 소라게 단디야 심발간 수수 도바 두준 쇼셰 거네 아니 소라게체 아니 거랑 도당 돌로 도당 패턴지요. 다다 도체 아니 남실라 슈슈 강할 튀겨 말해. 아니 치수 다 유고 도장 바 마루도 아니 미든조 아니 유고 도장 발도 삼발아니 페샤 사이기 동암든조 체체도 아니 강바 캡 동강 캡 아니 추든조 밤에 롱체체 아니 강할 망보체 추 강할 망보 체겨래 다나지 아니 모터다 든조기 아니 카본 다이옥사이드 망보지 아니 드린체 아니 나라저 고유기 남시다 든조 차접 기야라 아니 강할 망보 체용기도 어디 콜라인 아니 가서 아니 다 징낭다 아니 컨트롤 해야 되기다 뚝숨바디라 아니 디기 다 당이 망보지 숨게도 다 징낭다 컨트롤 징낭디 인가라서 아니 고유들 노겐 간에 중요하나 아니 시든 다 시든 망저 시든 바디저 리거 강라 랩견든저다 아니 시든 바디저게 고유 딘저라 아니 축정보지 배주 당기나 고리라 누기와 시행 의견도 하고 여러다 이나양 건석이 다 소소대 구심 대지요다 가와나 깨가지면 구심 대시기라 다나지 아니 달라다 되었잖아 야가르다 파키스탄 산산 기여래 아니 야가르다 페기 산산 기여래 아니 페기 산삼들라 다 마미가 왕규치도 선발 디게미가 왕규치도 선발 게미 망보 되어래 아디나로라 요타 랑지 아니 바르지든조 파조 오레아네 아니 모자 망보시 켜제 아니 다가 제 망보 바르지든 니마 망보 켜로 망보자 아니 베제메 삼삼 베제메도 삼발라 건조기 다랑 세나로 갑샤 아니 캬그럼나로 유샤 아니 디 캬그럼 디기 아니 바르지든기 누바디 니메 웨퍼도 삼발라 고 저러 게네야 아주 룽감든 소보서야 단디네 망보 중이도 다나지 아니 달라다기 단다 로숨징원 안에 라다 가네시요 단 딩상 안에 라다 가네시도 딜라차 좀 바네 로숨징원 라다 라디 아니 군가 아니 차디 강 타타지 바야다 아니 야르카디 차바시시 바야다 아니 군게 강디기 아니 야르카 아니 징가 바야다 아니 디졸라 아니 그런 패턴지요라 디 타타타 도데야지 다 딩상 투조 딜라 아니 디 패턴 독네 다 남시 규도기 아니 디 패턴 차단 독 사르다베 아니 군가 딘 강 바야 딘존 다단다 실자 당보 니바 되어야지 안빵강 바야 고츠야다 아니 강디양 따따 마밥 아니 강디양 뉴뉴 밥 아니 강디 뉴뉴 바와디야 아니 남지 테 아니 실자 숨바 지방 아바디를 사르도 디 강디 고포지고 주도 아니 야칼라 아니 돈도 딘조 아니 민 마투야다 디니 강한 망보스 쳔기도 다나지 아니 아주 case study jila samlo tawana ani ngara zo ladala ani nima nidong chulo de lan color balas brush chinera timbe thorchi ani kanga shimbo theyare didu sambala ani mangboji ani kalawada mi mangboji tong ta lada gi danda timbe thorche gyakyen dinalola mi population ti sum jis ma do yo mare dinalola ani mi nibyang apchu serosho ani lungba mangboji 아니 도시 대다 다나징이 아니 디기 깔라왔다 디기 캠베 아니 강알 망보지 아니 망보지 테디요레스 라다데와 샤자바나 아니 다나징 아니 라다데와 아니 취기 강알디야 단단 골라 세규르디기 아니 골라 세규르라나레 남시 규도라나레 디기 아니 취 강알 망보지 테디요레스 아니 니마 니 칠로지동 고 굽주스 네 다다니동 아니 뉴시상아 버도 아니 삼로당하나 로숨지 나로라니 단다 라다기 캬름기 아니 게체 뚝주 잠지 아니 주사요도지 아니 시기도 가자는 니 라다기 아니 케바데니기 단다 골레 아니 킬로미터 간라 아니 차쇼던 교디네 나 콘주 차쇼던 디코샤 아니 다나징기 아니 디 슈두 삼발라 아니 지갈라 아니 추든조 망보지 아니 지갈라 아니 캬름 망보주 아니 야칼라 아니 돈도 타다 민마도다 아니 돈도 아니 쇼르샤다 아니 남윤의 추기 돌루도다 다 유라다 날리디도서라 아니 딘조 강가 캄보차 아니 강갈 망보 체용이다 다 콘주 추 타그는 보지는 오르고야다 다다 디 파리 딘조 아니 추디 룽바 카지다 추 둥추다 강갈 테제 아니 자 쪽보다 디 베타른 보지는 오르가 조고고도 다나지 아니 돈도 베야다 아니 돈도 다 딘조 강갈 망보 체 아니 룽바 카지 단다 lungpa chuchu kashi nima la chokpo rang la ten chokpo la sama kingiro chokpo rang la tengyo lungpa dine yore chokpo kamche ani lungpa kona ani nepo choga jungi do la da da jungi yore di da dungtam dine ma ding one jungyo dine res la ju ani lungpa pache kashi jungsha danda ngara zo mangpo je kya je la galvan valley la nima yagar ta ani ni gemi mami ani tes jingja do teso galvan valley la ani galvan valley di ani nubra gi changcho de la chagyores ani nima chilo chito kubya tukchu dunchu de la galvan valley nalo la lada gi mirang digore chizu de shong dinzo nalo la ani di chudang tokchudang dinzo ani kombocha ne mi chowa kya kakbocha do sama mi chazang chu lungpa wala po yone danda chizu danda mami tes dere chizu da gyagari mami da gemi mami de kazang baru ani lo kachi jingola jingja teso odi saja di chagyo dinzo kanga 아니 미든지 파 추퍼 차교 되는 차기도 당가서 된다 디네도 강할 망보 치교나 아니 다 months kilometer later lana da gidin benin an namshi gyudogi neti la kanis chana ya dos lajiyo ta odila samlo tana danda din lada nang ani himis gumba ani gumba chimbo jre ani himis gumba gi ani initiative ji movement lene live to life lana 아니 다 고라 디 라다디 아니 싱동단 디네 딥주 제기 아니 리구 숙좀 베체 아니 곰바기 리구 페 아니 유미토 고도페 아니 싱동 망보 스탑제네 제네 월 리코드 나라 수야기 디니 중요레스 다나지 아니 디고 자사림 보체 곰바 아니 평 곰바 라이제 평 곰바기 아니 고 그린 고 오르가닉 라이기 레골 디네 페체 아니 싱동 딥주 제야다 아니 쿠류 돌아니 레가 망보스 독스낭요레 다나징기 아니 디스키 곰바 라이난 틱스 곰바 렌 곰바 딘저기 아니 캬고르 모지 쿠이 퉁가 아니 판제르 모지 쿠이 퉁가 갑수 아니 라다 되라니 싱동 뎁주 제게 제니 레고 디네 페 아니 유미 촐라니 다나징기 아니 쿠리우단 제베기 아니 레고 디네 페 제니 다간랑 아니 쿠리우단 제베 레고 페 아니 다나징 아니 룻 되어 가지고 아티피셜 소교 룻 디네 용기도 딘저 비주 강 뉴윤 다야다 아니 오르가닉 랑 아니 톤도 베드 오르가닉 베게 아니 리구디나 마보스 페요레스 딘조 응원에 아주 지소이란 제도 지리샤 다나지 아니 ngaran ngone ani lada diwala ani nima jidon chutu lola ani danda pegi benzo gangi ani goti olara andi tu Bryce Johnson da gen kama tu den ta ko yore ani gen kejo ani ngazu team lead chene ani ngara lada da ani danda my art my responsibility la ngazi di demden di pa lada keche ani lada la demden je lapta mangboji la demden je ani yulmi mangboji ani pa demden je sa da ketang ani du se goto mangboji pe jure indi nalo ngazu gi nangbe ta jul ta ani demden da nala ngazu nangbe ta jul kani hime tsari gi ta jul kani hime dinje tola de gap ti korang so be gabo si do andi na jin ding ngazu mi ani tonra palje tonra ge wala ngazu je yore di pendon 중요해서 다다디라 ngaranso ani nangchu ing ani dadila tablam doji kanis pigyo lan tangazo da mangjala mindfulness dereda ani ngaranso resource kare yo medira ani ngazo tenche ani bemelulu ani ngaranso thola mata haje chunjin jiada danajine ninjegi ani ninje kane lan tangazo ninje la do sambala ngaranso chikbo de beje tangshana digyo moro ani yongyurgi mirudizo 아니 ngaranso generation next generation dinzo chido ngaranso ani koru dinzo sobo maso chi sangman nyergo ani konso ngaranso darana yodo sama konso kangal mite chido ani sangman nyergo de ang gechi mo chagido ani umelam ne la darana da umelam tang dinzo chikpa do jira ani impermanence la da mita ba samlo tang jire dangaso mita ba samlo tang dara ngaranso da lungba chilani 슈지 대 가는 다른 룸베 미 인사며 거는 믿어 산 추족소나 고 네버체 고이도 다른 가도 믿어 받은 다른 삼로 거야래도 다나지 아니 추족소나 미든 빼고도 삼발라 덴델단 된 돌아 가라서 다른 미 미셰 먹어지 다른 거랑 디테이어에 대해 이제 하스 삼som 아니 가라서 데 자리다 다데 트리다 되기 당가라서 디 dele chapto kani jugo du lene ta ngara de chik ta dire da lungpa mangpo si nanglo da gompa lada de gompa de mang che ri gang la cha de ra ri gang la cha de sambala ani gompa din zo la ani wa ne chokpo ne ani pipe do lu che ani chu gang la dia da dine gi ligul mangpo pe do da lada gompa mangpo si la du di and dan na ji ani solar gi solar energy de use che jo ani chu chao zo ya da de zo ni mang zo 싱 아니 싱메당치 아니 추차우즈도 삼발라 또 뭐뭐 던지 강할 뭐 지겨라 다나지 아니 싱도 뭐뭐 주고 유도 삼발라 데다 소랄 에너지도 베제 당지 추차우즈야 다 디네 뭐뭐 베제 당나기도 다나지 엔 라다라 나는 추당 디네 강할 때도 삼바 딩상 artificial glacier 디네서 artificial 아니 glacier ice to 디네서 체 아니 추 강할 세라기 디네 달라 뭐뭐 당나기도 다나지 아니 룽바 망보 다 룽바 쿠비오 돌아오라다 야세나로다 발제 데 오르가닉 딘조 다다 비주당 디도 유메 하고마서 룽바 쿠비오 되어지나 망보시 아니 오르가닉 랑 루트 딘조 오르가닉 랑 비주당기도 아딘조 베 야보지 통송 아니 다디 당가서 가르쳐고도다 아니 단다 아주 나란조 아니 몽스클레메 리더십 프로그램 디 아니 다 program dini zone ani legul peada ta lada chu mare lada chu be ani himalayan jigu chachang la darang kangal chikpa thedi gyore sonjang ani dini gi legul peada ani kona zolan nang chu gi ani godo da ani seni ngone godo peada dinalo la ani jengge mangbo ji ani jengge nalo la ta jun yona chu gyore ani miga apomo dini yona chu gyore mangbo ji kyo ji ani legul peada dini chetuna ani peya boyon sare ani darna ji dangi joge gen la konso ge ani chige gen la konso sungi do ngara zo tajun no ngara zo chizo no la ani ta kurula nosge noke chedi da nyung res la tu sambala ani darna ji ngara zo kare doshun choshi gi jawa kare chigi na darna ji ani miga koran zo na peduche chetuene yago medo sami do ani nga ta dom do sawana 아니 다단다디기 남주 규도기 당아주 강아지 망보 치고 다랑기 아니 캡사 개벤지 렌지 나라주 낭초 당 사리기 이게 중대이기 아니 미행고도 배야다 다나지 아니 아주 마릭바디 아니 로친질로디 당아도 아니 답이 초랍도 남지기 싫어 뭘 아니 배야다 다나지기 가는 동암 여기 어디 동암디 나라도 다 아니 도준 초세메 동암체 얘기인기 아니 디강할 망보 티도 삼아 동암 딘조 아니 아니 롭게 알거로 그렇지 디니 제당 아니 디니 균에 가서 망보 냠룹잖아 아니 단다 나지 망스클레메 리더기 아니 이니시티브 디니 조이네 아니 가서 아니 밀라 펜도 망보 제도야다 아니 가서 아니 차장 망보 자리 바이나레 아니 남베기도 바이나레 아니 다랑 율미나레 가라서 망보 점네 아니 칼 디라 돈렌체 티여기 아니 누바시 렙두기로 아니 디다 타마딜라 타돈딜라 아니 투시줘야 베기 펜저강기 아니 디 데센데다 아니 버베사기 아니 거라기 아니 파운데이션 다 아니 브레전 센터 게가마 단 상말아니 닌타마 투시줘야
네, 거제는 진노라기 담시니 하장야 고스나서 네 닝타관 투지나 슈에인 다텐당한 주 투지디니 창사샤 시자니 주어tilengini 고급 피투사마레 네 주어tileng기 고급디니 거둘렌 초그레라와 나만 쪽이니 닝겹기 된다 냠숙 조묘급도니 주어tileng기 고급디 니 유디두급도니 된다 주어 요와이나 samnuna nya chis so since we run out of time I will not take any question for this session and while I will break for tea so if you have any burning question please keep it burning for the panel discussion so thank you
I should bring my globes. I've got the whole world.
number lenjitso ani larya samri shuyada ani tring ngingyab ki ani tamsheba thamadi ani gen vivian white chagiye ani gela moranki ani tamshe chadi maumbe sai kolas yachita ani zamuling di thande kne thang tevin bana khajo khawa chiglo dosare yachita namshin joto kchani benere kuryu ki ne thang kchani benere romi ki penki 가족 찬이 임변을 컨디스 차서에서 디 두콜 담치치기래 아니 겔라모랑 임변을 쳤다 카르치릭비키 아니 기겐다 간조기 레시딕 나로라 유릉분에 아니 냠슈 칭겐지 차디겨래 아니 게 위빌라 플리즈
Thank you. Thank you all so much for still being here this late in the day. Thank you, Karma. Thank you to the Sager family. Thank you to His Holiness. Of course, I echo all of the thank yous. It is a privilege to be here today. A week ago, Karma asked me to please give a talk on the future of Earth. And I said, no problem. I'll just grab my magic ball, I'll look into the future and I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. He said, not that kind of talk. So I'm here to talk about not just the future of Earth, but the future of Earth and the human legacy. If you ask an astronomer about what the future of Earth looks like, I'm going to tell you it's fine. And this echoes some things that were said earlier today. The future of Earth, there's no problem with Earth. Earth is seen, it's not its first rodeo. It has seen many, many things. This is not its first time orbiting the galaxy. The Earth has been around for about 4.5 billion years, and it plans to be around for another 4 billion years, at least, before there's any problem at all. So the future of Earth is fine, but as a human, I also live here with all of you, and that's where we have a little bit of a problem. Earth is very resilient, as I said. It has seen ice ages, it has seen asteroid impacts, it has seen many, many rounds of destruction in the 4 billion years that it has been orbiting our sun. But life, it seems, is here from the very beginning. It has been here most of those for the last 4 billion years. We have seen evidence of life on Earth, and life is strong, and it has a will to keep going and evolving, and it seems to take all of these different impacts in stride. So I don't worry about life either. Humans, we are relatively new, and we are at the top of our food chain at the moment, and we are very, very adaptable. We have been all over the place. We've made it to all the continents. We've gone deep into the oceans. We can now, I flew here in an airplane in the sky. Humans have been almost everywhere. We have even been to the moon. So I know that humans are very adaptable. We are Earth's most advanced species so far, and we have a lot of things going for us. We have communication skills. We can build amazing civilizations. We are able to interact, all of us. Around the world, we are now globally connected as a species. I don't know, maybe whales have done that. They can talk over long distances, but they have not built the civilizations that we've built. We have a lot going for us. And as we talked about today, we also have a lot of problems. We are very good at consuming more than we need. That is one of the things that is the hardest about being human. I think that greed piece that has come up a lot today, that is one of the struggles of humanity, and it's going to possibly be our downfall. We're going to see. We are also fighters. We have a lot of fighting in us, and I think that that can be possibly one of the things in our downfall. But I have a lot of faith because every single day I see people working together and solving problems and being kind and generous and compassionate to each other. So while humans have our pluses and our minuses, it turns out our time here on Earth is not going to be forever. I had the immense pleasure of working with the nuns last week at the library, and we talked about how long an intelligent civilization might last on Earth. And they very generously gave us 1 billion years as a guess. Well, 1 billion years is a very long time, and it's never happened before, but it doesn't mean it cannot happen. And I have faith that if we keep evolving as humans into who knows what else, there is a possible future for us. But no matter how long we are here, our time is not forever. I love the idea of impermanence, and I've been sitting a lot with that this week. But we're not going to be here forever. And we don't know what is going to be the end of humanity. There's a lot of uncontrollable forces that we have very little control over, like volcanoes, like earthquakes, like asteroids impacting the Earth. Those are things that are out of our control. But science is making headway on those things. We are learning a lot so that we've become more adaptable. We can prepare better. NASA has sent missions to asteroids to see if they can push them just a little. There aren't any actual asteroids that we know of right now headed for Earth. But we wanted to see if it was possible to push an asteroid in case we find one that is. And it turns out it is a possibility. We have some more work to do. But we are learning to prepare ourselves better for these uncontrollable forces. I think what we're here to talk about more today are these controllable choices, the things that we have the ability to change. And there are a lot, and they impact the rest of them. So we've talked a lot about the burning of fossil fuels, obviously the deforestation, and we talked there was a question earlier about livestock and farming. And you have done amazing things with the organic farming. I want to be clear that most of this livestock and farming that is doing the most damage is large scale. This is not the herder that is going up the mountain with their goats. These are large scale meat factories or big productions that use lots and lots of pesticides and are monocultures. They are not the small family farms. That's not the problem. We also are overfishing our oceans, and we are filling our landfills faster than we can keep up. Maybe we'll send our stuff to space. Maybe. On the elevator. So the big question is, how do we want to spend our limited time here on Earth together? We get to do this. We're all in this Earth spaceship together. How do we want to do this? We can continue on the path that we're currently on with all the things that we've been talking about today, greed and poverty and hunger and violence, and that we know what's going to happen. We are going to not make it much longer at that rate. If we continue down that path, we have a pretty good idea. Science knows it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. The climate change is going to cause bigger and bigger catastrophes. There are going to be droughts and floods and mudslides and all of these things that we know are the cause of climate change. Or we can do something different. And I think that involves what we've been talking about today, and what you as monastics are really, really good at is that expanding your circle of compassion. I think If we are able to do that, and we are able to work on our individual daily choices, in our community choices like you are making, and then also by working with our governments, by petitioning governments to make better regulations, to make investments in areas that are actually important to us and that help to save our planet. Again, this is not my area of expertise, and there are people who think about this every single day as their job, and they are working really hard, and they are working around the globe to think about this question. And if you are unsure of what to do, I encourage you to take a look at the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 of them. They are all interconnected. Climate change is not here on its own. It is part of a larger web of issues that we are dealing with as humanity. You can pick any one of these. You can work on the local level. You can work with your government. You can work in your own community or even in your own house or your own school. Pick something. That's all I ask. It doesn't have to be big. It can be at whatever scale that you can do, but don't do nothing. Geshe Lakdor, you talked yesterday about inaction, or the first day about inaction, you and Geshe Nima, about if we do nothing, we will continue down that first course. It is easy to do nothing. It could be kind of fun while you're doing it. It's kind of like eating candy. If you eat candy all the time, it tastes really good and you feel really good, but it's going to be bad for your health in the end. We're going to have to eat some vegetables. We're going to have to do some things that are a little bit harder. But honestly, there is suffering on both sides, but there's also a lot of joy on both sides. And I encourage you to take a look at these goals, because I think that even if you're picking something that's not directly related to climate change, if you are picking reducing inequities, that has an impact on the larger society and on climate change in the long run. And of course, His Holiness the Dalai Lama says it best every time. Oh, it didn't get translated. I'm sure you can find this. I found this at the Museum of Tibetan Works. And what His Holiness I love how he frames this, that this is the earth teaching us how to be responsible. This is a challenge that we are up to facing. We can absolutely do this if we work together. There is no doubt in my mind that we can make changes and make this happen. Oh, there you go. I'll give you a minute. Now it's in Tibetan. Okay. Like I said, I have lots of hope. I have hope because I see in our children who have been raised with this idea of climate change. I didn't know about it when I was growing up. Our children now know that this is an issue. They recognize that it's a problem, and I really appreciate what Lori does and talking about not just the problem, but the solutions, giving them ways to be active in their communities. And as parents and as teachers, we have a responsibility not just to teach them, because if you have ever worked with children, you know they listen to only about half of what you tell them. But what they do listen to, what they do notice is what you do. So we have a responsibility to act and care for our planet and be responsible stewards of our planet, because that is the way that we will teach the rest of the world. There's a study that I found out of North Carolina in the United States, and they did a study that said if children talk to their parents about climate change, parents' attitudes change about climate change. So not only are we affecting our children who we teach, we are affecting their families and making them aware of how we can do better. I have hope in our children. I have hope in our technology. I think that the more that we understand, the better we are going to be able to face the future together if we increase our compassion. And when you gave me this topic, Karma, I thought the first thing that popped into my head was, I wonder what a civilization a billion years from now, here on Earth, is looking back on, like, doing fossil hunting, and they're looking back on this layer of plastic that we have left behind, and they are thinking, wow, they had everything they needed. They had all they could ever want and more. What happened? I hope they don't look back and see that. Thank you.
Again, Vivin Tujina, thank you very much for your presentation. DJ Ladang Anzo Tamshiki Temba Zo by Basonza, Ane Kamakashi Shringalang Anzo Tiwatilinki to the Shaggy, Ane Gala number Linjitsuki, Ane Tamshipa, Dangazo della Suli Bene, Ane Tiwakuni, Ane Tiwadi Tiwa Ransung Rochi. Tuzuki Jembe, Samzu Maru Masunroche, Samzu Sunyaki, Kaka Putu Samaran, as Mimambushi, your sonza, the Imbasonza, any Tiwatang Budi. Any Tiganashi, any Mirik Tiware Gurochi, in the Sum that she didn't never snarona.
George Tanchawachi, in the Troatan at the Geshinambatang, Pokeshing and so much Jamba. Inchitu Karison Komudu, Kegirmet to Samangas Komudu, Mako to Samna, Tigana Troatans Ragamudu, Unjantanda, Geshinamba Sonata, the Sama Chingson into Samna, Tigana, so some certain Mandras to Tigana Troatania Troson. Troata Kari and Zen, Mancha, Tanda Tansanga Nirkabena, Mancha Chikarena, Long and Cablon, any Korik Basochana, any Miga Cercola, no pay up among which son they do. In a need something the daily doctor code. Kandi kogundu je na ngazu chunchung ka ndiwi lo samchi yarngola popo momoto so mancha lo tukchu dunchu ngapchu tina atong do ma shira degi mudu khonsu khala ta mancha organi rang ma jamba khala rakay yo mare ina tani mas degi mudu teran khesan zinjir krig mancha sa da yor legar jachul hewa ina tanda pe ta tha cho jachu gupchu tini de thukundu techi du zamna ngazu teran khesan ga niwab de la ta ina pet Yarji and Rodeo, the machine, Mig sit rangs Rodeo, the Mig Carsigor, Sopchis in Amandu Kari and Yarji and Rodeo, the machine. Mates, Dichideo, Nabachu and Tungumundu, Titoani, Nambasutan Chuni, goes to some certain around sometimes and Dragumundu, Mada, some Latiga, Mr. Disha Candio, and I just saw Rochitatini, teach Chitanda and young Korik, and out to Shinnak Shondak Zedua, Shinnak Chetich to Zamani and Korila Nugur Zedua. Tinogio Samari Sam good Karzna, Ari Lombatawa and Shinnak Chep Matter to Zamla, Shinnak Chep Matter to Mishur Dogdoa. Shandak Kamia Mountain, Mishur, but the Shandak Che, the Mandamari Sam good. And a young Kanshit and the churches and over the they are Dimba and Samari Sam good Karizina. Natsu the Goa jump to color, young and over the Nanyan Taloni para Sonkan Sanga, you such a particular day, the Consoya, Tidro and Chigam, the churches and over to some good. Then this is some of the doctor is some good Tigala and Gonzalcari on the Sono.
Okay. So I think Gela didn't get a radio, so he was not able to hear the translation, so he didn't understood what the English presentations were. But by listening to the Tibetan presenters, it seems that the climate change and the environmental pollutions are causing a lot of problems or having a lot of negative impacts on our life. But based on my experience, it seems that it is the opposite effect that is happening in our life. So when we were younger, in the past, our forefathers, they used to live around like 50 and 60. At that time, they were living in a cleaner environment. They ate only organic food, but their lifespan was only like 50 and 60s. Right now, we are eating all these kinds of junk foods, but still we are living longer. We live 70, 80. And so what is happening here? Then also, by listening to the presentations, it seems that you said that the deforestation is a problem. It's causing a lot of problem for us. But it seems that from my point of view, deforestation is a good thing for the environment. Because of not cutting down the trees, you have all these wildfires in the West. And if you manage to cut all of them before there was a fire, then we will not going to have these forest fires. And then I have been going to the Goa beaches. And every time, every year, whenever I go there, the level of the sea level is always the same. It seems that there's no increase in the sea level. And the melting glaciers and the problem with rising sea level is also not so true. So please enlighten me what is happening here. It's you.
Okay, testing now. Do we have a translator now?
I'll do the translation.
You help translate?
Yep. Because you don't have a radio.
Okay. These are really good questions. And, you know, it's really hard as humans who live maybe 50, maybe 100 years to understand the long game of climate change, of how things are changing. I'll start with the last one, in that sea level rise has been minute, but it is rising, and it affects some areas more than others.
저다 겐라기 티와딕 나로네 차시 타마딩이 응원을 랭게기 인스탄다 초카토르 루민도스 고아기 추남들 주디스 에저와 저다 초카토르 도야게 세시디 춘주시우 심바 손자 안에 산에 창말라 안에 디기 슈기 지규르기 통금마레스.
All right, I'll go to the first one next about that we're living longer and eating worse. Those are both true. I would say that has a lot to do with modern medicine.
저다 저 당보주여와 아니 칼라 딱 기니리 망부 쉬우지 사기여되는 세링을 디도아 세야디 콜라다 계자시비면은 갤럭송마 대가라레스 팅산 세링 디여레스 다 세링을 대야디 가진레스 라빈베나 아니 딩두키 아니 메인키 튠게 야타베기 레마도 기니 사회금전을 말레스 다 기니데 마사와체 딩두키 메인 템비면은 세들레링을 디레스 다 오늘 셀로 야와 차이레스 간조.
I mean, people are very rarely dying from an abscessed tooth anymore, but 100 years ago, that could kill you.
팅상 안에 메인 가디는 때체 안에 소루체 미시도니 페제 요마레스 안에 로이다 야자지 카시 킹을라 소루네 미망보시 두고요레스.
And the second one is a little bit more nuanced, and it's interesting that you say that. So, yes, if we had no trees, we would have very few wildfires. That is true. But we rely on the trees to provide oxygen for us to breathe, and that's really important, and an ecosystem for the animals, of course. But we have been spending a very long time not cutting down trees in California, on the West Coast, for example, and it is contributing to the wildfires. So we are now looking and partnering with indigenous communities who have been taking care of that land for generations, and they know best practices. Some of them are controlled burns, some of them are using like goats to cut down to eat the brush. I mean, you were doing some of those practices here. I see the goats that take down the brush. That is one of the ways to stop it. I don't think cutting down trees is the best solution.
싱나도 저 뚜브샤비면은 아니 매균슈리 강에 요마르와시야디 뎀바덴자레스 다 이메나야 아니 싱농도 좀 안주기다 소롱다 된저그 체도 아니 고야지 차디 요르와스 약슈 중비면은 싱나도 저 요와 강시라 아니 메케 직 모야케 내단지 중비면은 아니 디약슈레스 자자다 디기 약슈 아니 베준 체그 체도 안주 캘리포니아다 다 아리게 높초다 이면은 단다 메주 망부 용사든 줄라 아니 펠라 데메키 아니 미릭 된조다 냠도 계제시제 직 싱나 카시야 규릉보 샤와 마임바 tum나 약사르베 대가능시 매견 쇼리아게 다 년가 체슈 뚱이디 싱나 나로를 여베게 짜닉 된조레데도아 Stanik denzo mewa soya ke chedo yam this mechunchu dinde gaya duwe ngongo chedo yamena ane chi ralu mang sochon chegu duwe se yachide ko deme ke tablam mangbo yore chaza da denzo tablam yakshu de khare sha se yat ngazo thanda ane bezun she shimbe gang yis dwal tevi bena shingna nanglo la ko stanik denzo sadoni ke ralu sochon chede nyamang bo dos denzo ane ko mechun mashore ya denzo la pingi yores that tiwashimba I think
hello here muje number da ani tamshe ba samwal samdi shu ni tiwa di zawe di chagidu da shopa ki tamshe shi thanda di jule li hu da linda ko chagdi na thanda kesla da kesla abdullah da ani we invite khurani latus pinati sha tiwa la na da ngala di lamde ju ko do thanda ngazu gi thanda ta tiring ye khola da ye gindi le di khuriuk da dewa chagyora 아니 단당한지 단다 플라스틱 pollution 레라 기쇼기 단다디 딘데 갑수 당한주기 소소기 디가라 프로젝트 조레 아니 딜라 디두잠바 미딘데 담라니 계란기 기쇼 마육다 딘데 라두잠발라 아니 미망 카제직다 레송지기 랭 한데스 예우다나 니에지기 마유라 카리펜도리 사상 요구도 아슬레로 다라 아니 베나야 아주 파니야 단다 로조 혼주다 벨로비초도 아드라가 마보다 그라 가묵디 디 답두 잠발라니 켈라 카제 추든조 삽삽치라나 혼주기 카르 송구라나 갸블로 싱가날 추드네 마보톨라단 그도 아주 추디기 쇼케바 도 마르 예 미치기 치마질 쇼케바 도 마르 슬레저라 디 라단다 게슬라다 아니 비빈 와이트 니기 아니 딘데도 기미 딘데라 아니 람데 한데스 치고레스 아니 어디지 나중에 돈이란 지용 돈이나 두지
So I need guidance for this. So actually, I wanted to ask this question for the morning presenters, but now I'm asking this to Vivian and to Gisela's here. So we run some awareness creating programs in our monastery, and so one of them is related with plastic pollution. So when we ask monastics not to use plastics, some of them, they say that if everybody else in the town is using plastics, what it will going to make difference if I stop using plastics today? And then also, when we talk about the importance of conservation or the preservation of water resources, then they say that, okay, look at the fields, especially in the Bailagubi and the Hongsur area, there's a lot of cultivation of ginger. And it needs lots of water. So monastics, they see that these fields, they use lots of water. So there's lots of water wastage going on in these fields. And what is the problem if I let my tap water running for a few seconds? So when we meet this kind of people, when we do our projects in our community, what is the best way to give answers and deal with these people?
디 트바디 남주네 낭주 시드에 트바디 당게 망고도 띵이 랜드 카리자고르세나 딱다레스 미켄다 상마 캄바 토자 고안에 마초네 랑소 지도스 이처럼마 좀효스 그저 디다오지레도 와디 저서 딜랍잖아 파제 디거르지요레 다 니와 딩에 데 페치샤나 데스 링다메나 고마 히마찰기 치 미니스터지 the election ki the chapter chega yung ne tamhi ji che student ga senyi rasa de nge se wo theng do ma ko tamhi he kheba hiu ji re koran de nyenga chindu ene dudu kon to shore kon to chodo de ene khande shore se de koran dung ji yes ngoma jewo ji yores ko jewo de mi sang ma yi ji hiu ji che ne se wa hiu ji yores ene jewo de gi ta charan su sang me nga le yi ji da se wa hiu ji yor ding ha ko yos 이나 딩게 제와 딩고스 류도네 용예 조도스 딘데 인상 공다 치보직라 차란소게 춘주 동바 진낭로라 오마 루샤로 제 시나 상메 그 오마 딱 지금 하얀로 카리네 진노제지 나키네 루샤로 제 에네 산이게 차란소게 대샤주 루샤주 오마 디나가 수부투인스 차란 제와 딩고스 용예 시도 딜럽데 에네 공다 나군 차도 미 소소 삼로다와 다 자보네 거네 상메 가고 시고 상메 오마키 이바레 nga chikbu makina da kyun kayos chike tindesam nyine tindesam sanye do ma tikba chik loge chugyo maras 어떤데 작으레스
라소
That's not my area of expertise, but I think that this geshe knows quite a bit about that.
안토 쇼초 베틀리 사라 인데 genlado dangi kalona denguni pe sengute boda lol tebu shuju angazo maji dona che da ane naji yaji da so de kares chi ngubo seji ngubo de yaji da dona ma do nasel ane yaji da le pe che go mare se oti so denguni ngara chen ane pe lol tebu da ti shuju ina nga dowaji da doji kar sabu tu sana da ngazo nachen de she mo go ji jidan chiling ni she wi na da nasel na namdo level na namdo 셴케다 통케 링케데 소리라고 그래서 때 길란도 마오지 세고라 다니야 그래서 레바바데 레바지 또 텐데 셴이데 소리 기세 네 난지 삼로 가르코도 생가라 세리 기르보다지 잠이 맞어 시야게 길람데 레바바데야 로 말레다 디마도 셴게 건데 레바 예발 콘제기 아니 지 단다바도 된 토마스 아니 겐게티 gonchakare ji songro che da nga ngara nejikatin semnala towala namde ti ji shagyong da leba ke sheba di su ha ko to gres kande ha ko to gres
tanga di leba de tinde gala seri khebas ke mare ina nge da thalchimbe ko shajo ji sheba ina ngaju nangju nanglo la sheba da sheba rakba dusu onshi da rakba dusu ani lujen le tende yores ombolo sowa 당나시 레벨 소버 된데 요레스 히바 텀 락바도 힌두 타베 네가브도 애니 히바 그디 수진 락바 레벨 소버 된고 애니 드웨지 요스 가도 디히고로와 다 체네바기 가도 셰샤조디 처럼서 노레인데 마레스산에 랍게 말에 콘도 가서나 처라다도 텀 셰샤이데 가도기 지 투지기 센자 제투비다 당가잡투에 내수지 마레스 제도 땡게 요레 메레스 게 히그메 가도 칼리칼리 냠십 지긴스 단대 차랑 아주 제통대에도 상마 레베기 까당에다 레베기다 독스제 독스마제 파도거를 수도거세 상마 레베기 질리치 톤 신구도세 딜랍기요레 디 마레스 딜레 로스 헤바 고레세 디 레로라 요마르다 삼로당에도 상마 레베기 윤구도세 고레 다 코도 딘데지 마도 단다 디 잠종기 디 가르치는 윤구요레세나 디 디히 칸데요는 게 싫어라나 시에메 가르스나 코도 가르 통구요레세나 pena lebegi samlo chik tangwe kabla ya lebagi zaada dute da mangbo shibuji nyamrup chene lega chik chewe bade tonggo yore da khodo nyamrup kharchene chege yore sidi di xe tugo mar nge tena chedu di inji na synchronicity sej doa di xe tugo yo mare midu ta tanda do sene ta nga zo tanda nangwa da zo ke nyamdu ta neuroscience onzo serik da dewa chene da kane ina sendo de yore ma do ke ta choba chege paji nge samba yo mare samudo mare
So the question was about whether there is an agent that is above or beyond brain to let us do things and think and that kind of thing. So Gisela briefly gave answer that we don't have a definite answer. We can't give a definite answer from a neuroscience point of view.
So, good afternoon to everyone, and I would like to congratulate all the presenters of the morning session and the afternoon session also for a very lively set of topics. And what is even more interesting is we are sitting today in the Kalachakra temple, and according to the Kalachakra Tantra, it is about creation of cosmos and destruction of cosmos again and again in a cyclic distinct. So the metaphor of us sitting in a Kalachakra mandala and thinking about how our planet is going to be created or destroyed, I think is very poetic and profound. So my observation here, I mean anyone can answer. It's for the monks and the scientists as well. So what we know today as modern science or the Western science started with the age of enlightenment, with real discoveries, real problem solving, asking questions that were relevant to further the frontiers of human understanding, right? like, devising a vaccine for something, or like Galileo's this thing of observing, whether it's a Copernicus heliocentric or the phases of the moon and all these kinds of things. But today, science seems to have become very future-oriented. It is no longer engaging with the present. So if there's a lot of problems on Earth, let's take a rocket and fly to Mars. And the irony is that the same problems on Earth will be taken to Mars as well. Job, then there'll be unemployment, taxation, health benefits, insurance. So, this approach is very much symptomatic of the capitalist worldview that is prevalent today, disposable. If planet Earth is not working, let us dispose and move on to a new planet, okay? So where did we go wrong? So my question here is, post-industrial revolution, science has furthered our desire in a very big way. Everyone spoke of desire and greed as an abstract way, but I think science has played a very important role in creating this industrial society which furthers desire, so mass production and consumption. And science also furthers the same thing in the form of technology. So Hollywood, movies, advertising, social media, okay. So today, when science is bereft of ethics, there's no sense of altruism. From where it started, and today science has become a tool for the rich and the powerful, political. Like, we saw all the billionaires. They're the ones who are making bunkers and exit strategy, okay? So there is no longer any altruism left in science anymore. So shouldn't we redefine what is science? Because if it is lacking in ethics, I think the very fundamental principle, what makes it science, is kind of, gone. And the second thing is, I would like to add on what one other presenter said. They said there's a gap between knowledge and action. All of Indian philosophy, Buddhist and even Hindu philosophy, they believe that knowledge and action are interconnected. Through action, you can get knowledge, and through knowledge, you can have right action. So if science has led to this point where there's a gap between knowledge and action, isn't it time to redefine our paradigm? Isn't it time to jettison this old idea of science, which gives it a godlike status, and it is looking down upon everything? Because science once critiqued religion for lack of understanding and lack of liberal worldview. Today, can't philosophy and religion critique science for lack of ethics? So this is an open question for everyone. So I would love to hear.
That's a big question. In my view, I think science is a tool. And I think that who uses it, who gets to use it, decides how it is used. Any more than a pen can create masterpieces, or it can draft war documents, right? It's not the art can create bigger warships. It's up to us.
So my question here is, would you still call the warship creation also a part of science? Because a lot of the pollution and the issues that happen, they're coming from factories that are empowered by science.
Yeah.
So somewhere if you were to increase the altruistic and the compassionate aspect, then the other aspect of what we call as science can naturally go down. It is like our own mind. If we have afflictive emotion, if we are compassionate, or if we practice mindfulness, that goes down. So today in the balance of science, we can see both. We can see both the destructive and the positive potential. So if we willfully, kind of highlight or, tone down on the negative aspects of it, don't you think that the redefinition will help? My question is that, what constitutes science? It's constantly being redefined again and again. This is a philosophical question, because even in Indian philosophy, what constituted awakening, liberation, enlightenment was revised over 5,000 years. Then the Buddhist philosophy, then the Mahayana philosophy. So if science is so adaptable, today shouldn't science be self-reflective about its own shortcomings and say that, no, we are also responsible? Science has responsibility. It's not just identifying problems or giving this thing. Even the ills that are caused by science fall upon, because, earlier scientists were willing to die for their discoveries, Today science is entwined with business and politics. This is my question, Where does it come in? It's a philosophical question and maybe a rhetorical one also, but, that's it. Geshe-la, would you like to say something?
Because this dichotomy between action and knowledge is not a problem with science alone. It's a problem with all of us, be it Buddhist, be it Hindu, whoever, how much we practice what we preach. We are part of the human society, right? So I would not make big distinction between science and the religious philosophy on this ground. Instead, I would make more emphasis on science actually takes more action, but the problem is what kind of action. So that is an area we need to think about. But otherwise, I think it's basically same.
Okay, so the Tindish Gurchowach, Puggy, Inji game machine is the Gilakurangi, so she had the Diresha. Ane Tsirik Nanglola, Ane Sanju Gichashua or Sanju Gichati, Ane deep at the Zimetangadus. The Sanju, the Sujim, the Nigichat, Ane Zimetan Shadu Zambala, could Tsirik G Gichan Gejashebimbana, Ane Digi ko Chashik, Ane Zimetawam, Chashik Mewachado, Chaidus, Chazata, Dig Kola, Ane Karangi Karsua, USH, Takuranki Pedamawashi, Standard Tsirik. Pejulo, what you can get on to get a shut on that Tiki Mambujo and some share. That Dicton any Gala Gisela Sundi any co Yarab Sanju, you may say Jorwa. Chazada di Nanzu Sama than tell you Kejare Mato, Ane de Serix yet, the Droops yet, the Nangbas yet, the Chivas yet, the Niki Kesamaris, the Nanzu Sama La Gay you de what reasons. Chazak Kumikar Harsha. Harsh, can I add one sentence? So, if you have a knife, whether you use it to cut vegetables or you use it to kill people, it's still a knife. So, science is science. It doesn't matter whether you use it for creating good things or promotion of compassion or whatever, or use it to make money or rockets or weapons. So ethics comes with human practice. Yeah.
So I see Buddha as a scientist, right? He saw the 12 interdependent links and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Can we stop here?
Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, thank you. So otherwise, the ethic part will keep on going. There won't be any conclusion. Okay, that's.
Hello. Thank you all. And it seems like there is no simultaneous translation, so I've tried to ask in the English.
Yeah.
My question is regarding the solar energy. And this morning, there was a presentation on it. And also in the exhibition, there was about the solar energy. And also in the Kachin Rinzin Nubula's presentation, we found that we all are aware of the destruction of the environment, and the alternate way is, one of them is the opting for the solar energy. And also in the Gishil Hagdullah's talk, how we going to expect unlimited products from the limited resources. And also when the sun itself, as in the morning Gishil Ekpa's presentation, he mentioned about the lifespan of the sun. I don't remember how much year it is, but it's limited. So since it is limited, and nowadays we are finding so much, taking the energies from the solar, and also the government of India is, promoting it, and I really appreciate it. So if it is limited, then if we take so much energy from the sun, does it going to affect its lifespan or not? If it is affecting the lifespan of the sun, if it is not affecting, then it's fine. Otherwise, if it is affecting the the lifespan of the sun, then is it another way of destruction of the environment? So my question is for all.
I think I can take this one. No, so the sun is radiating energy in all directions, all the time. Well, for the next 5 billion years or so, it's just going to be radiating out, and that energy is going out into the universe never to be seen again. And if we pick up a little tiny bit of that, we are getting, tenths of a percent of the energy that the sun is radiating, a very tiny amount. And if we don't take it, it's just going to keep going. So it will not change the lifespan of the sun at all.
Natural resources jorba ranshin gita chunggung se de la rigni shagdo chik sejen che pena hing singen dawo dang chu singen dawo dang sejen chi do dusu sejen re sidang ko ji hidu chidu di sabza ma chen jobu zo ro res pena do dang do se dang de terga ina ko terga dang na bejo dang lo jani jan zo ro res do di sejen chi re ta ti membe ki tanda charan gi hilak sung na hi nime ge segen dawo dang lung segen dawo dusu primary natural resources do so da chungong so wajin do so chidan semeres semere de inaya mi chajul de ne semege nuba de ya bejo ya butang ma tu ne pena lung pe koran yona ya ngaju chibang de ne lung soba ma do marai dinde ge da bejo logba dang kyon de yores o dinde de chi jag do ding da to chen do chi
아니 gelamora ki sungurta nyime ki wese di nganzu zambulinga la powe kapsala nganzu ki lenere malenere ko yene ma chin sawarwa nganzu ki malen nganzu zambuling di shaje pa do sheire jigden kam ki nanglo le thuden chilo che chi ya marwa cha di ki nganzu ki pechu che di nyime ki nube ki jache ki nanglo ne lego sa dinde ki nanglo le yung yores cha di ki ani chewa su ma res worta tega na sita ko nganzu pechu che na ma chin na ko we yene chin sawade dondo ba di ro ta nyima mewa chacha pa do ani koran ki nubat chiru chin di res so one last question please we have time only for one question
참말로 라슈도 들리셔다 단데디 니 저데 단데디 이 단다 술린전인데 저당 다이 님이 공기 골라당 코유그 도노 두시 제대제고에당 던지지 소나사 저당기 대가는 성기 체리바 이날에 가서 수도 수있는 게 유행이지래 현장 가는 성기 다 던지기 고도 명예당 던지기 제대 명예 대청라 가는 성 람도 제당 줘라 소소기 주보데 소소를 개천부 임바 나기 소소 주보데 콜라데 자충을 땅바 있는 소소 주보데 소소기 콜라리 상도 어때 자와 첨부 임바 나기 때 자와 첨부 말을 하기 무스가 요 말 상도 인자 대배 샤네 베기 천원 전투에 도노 던지기 고도노 베투그레 두그 말레스 던지기 도노 던지기 이상의 지당 저당게 가정게 미 루보드 쳐야 돼 요한시 다 요한참 갈고 마탐바 모모지기 레 두버지로와 인자 요한차냥도 가라서 주보 대당동 대두다 대나게 전에 사이 관라당 지hin기 모벌로 소바 자장 요한 대당 대 여드메 요한 대도 대 여베이나 디긴 요한차 마녀나 던지기 사이 관라라 너전 대서 용거를 용거 말레스 디기 돈 던지는 어쩌지
디 단데 게실라기 저바디 야고 시오지도 응했던지다 뒤즈메르마도 디나게 토직 잡히요 콜라스당 아주 사히실도 자체탄 섬로 코르게 말와 딜 소소낭라 에네 지금 디 낭미도저기 지금 응유당 주자라 카리나 감이 간주모 중 베조다나 바와 아마 수이나 그 응유속에 수이나 그 깨자그러와 다천도 데 방매 농주 희비치도 게 다발라자 가서 흰게외에서 깨자그러와 대칭도 그 삽삽 제거들 남상하고도 다 디나히 빼자네 아주 사기디 침대 아주 침치야들에스 디나라다 간주문주 개념 육난 리그마르세 디빼 게송에 빼야고도 저도 디 개심 희우레샤 디가도 덴덴 다가나 제거지래 다 디네단다 중화 차냐마냠 세디 아주 추덴스 라빙도 다고 대보인 당보인 세도 에네 가서 그런 중화 시대 차냠도 계속해서 이제 숭제가 열어디 사단 중화 마보 미거다 진생 당매 풍부하게 농동도 소네 소로 합샤집에 종전도 세소 지불도 나서도 교와세 저래 대치도 그 중화 시대 코란 건데 세소 합샤집네 세소 초계라고 지샤도 열래 코란 시 맞은 바레스 콘도 따다 식다 도움되는 시 룽궁질 샤셔저로 자르르르스네 되네 콘도 배 원자 지주 찍바 유대 찍지간라 좀 맞음네 Any no maji de ta tinra wo chigre sang to devo se tima to dilila de ke yo mares. Raba any tina ne be su sadang dedan chedang cholam khidang mandik ni yamena pe de khars korda. Jungwa menkham de shukshir china tene nga trin sawa parja ngona ja se de so lungkam shukshir china tene songlung shugun ro da so menshung de na le sewo hiu do de ju de demare chaza de ndu gergi tan de geng suma na shi gerl pe jan zamli chile ina ya chadu che da na 강에 시부요 되게 충당나 강에 시부요 디차인 것도 이가 지라고 그랬です. So what I was explaining for the benefit of the Tibetans is that Geshe-la's question is absolutely wonderful. He was asking how if we consider not talk about the big globe and earth but talk about oneself, one's own body as the world, then how should you take care of it? How should you maintain the balance of the four elements and so forth? So I was answering this is an excellent example because in your own home also, if you use whatever available resources there, if you misuse it, then the father, who may be the bread earner, will say, you can't do this. You know my salary, monthly salary? You can't do this. You know, like that. So there, obviously you know it, you see. So similarly, if you think about this whole world or earth as a big family, then we can say, you can't do this. This is our home. So this is a good example. Yes.
Tiwa tamadi ani nganzo ya DJ la zerim chunchun ju di mbosong za tizu mindu
Changwala nyingung dele chamdi tashi dele showa dang chapji la rang ni diwa chungjung mashime dini showa ni ani gonda bardaram ani ta sai golai gente na da ani sai golai sungyob na da sai golai ge ani nal deki ge nangchu ge semjing ge ani sungyob na da ta di gola mangbu chi song ani thong ani thardu na ani ta ani domi sungyob daw da domi degi daw la ni degi ani dupthar daw la go sora din jang danda bardo ni cheri yarge do ni ta ani sa dawa dang ni migmar dang gawa gang sa lep sare ni danda bardo ni mi degi cho di gare la na ani domi degi dubya dire do dadu yani mi degi di kune ani ta doiba masim ne ra dadu ani dupthar la ani dadu kar sa bene ani du ma to din jang ni dio di gare na mi degi di kajui samji ani gare sam kajui sam ki ani cheri yarge do na ani mi degi dup thup sares ani mi digi ki thardok lai di khande dawj res pena ani nangchone da mi digi lai de da thar ani namkhen gobang thoya da in daw sung ge re ta ngoi kham cheni be thone she sona ra ani kajui sam ge je sona ani shini mi digi dup thup sares what this sung
So this is primarily for you. Thank you, Anila Tujana. By listening to all the presentations, when we talk about importance of keeping balance in environment or having not pollutions or this kind of thing, it seems that ultimately we are talking about creating happiness within us. So happiness is the main issue. So, however, when we talk about the scientific developments, we have achieved so much advancement, made so much achievements in scientific field. We managed to even go to moon, and right now we are talking about going to the Mars. But still, it seems that still we are not happy. So, what level of scientific advancement will ultimately give us the happiness that we are looking for? So when we talk about the Buddhist point of view, we talk about enlightenment, all these things, to achieve the ultimate happiness that we are seeking for. But from scientific point of view, at what time, at what level of scientific development is needed for this ultimate thing that we are seeking?
So I would say that the goal of science is not necessarily happiness. I think that we could use science. Sometimes will make us happier, sometimes it will make us sadder, but it doesn't guarantee happiness in any way. I think that comes from somewhere else, not science.
Tadi chwa di glen de khares la bimbena. Tsiri dan churi yarge nyamdu ane digi se joro de da tegar ane dewayo mares. Tsiri se di tan tsiri dan churi yarje sigunere 디 페주 체네 디기 투야 라야 페주 체야 요레스 양코 페주 체네 둥이 투야 라야 페주 요레스 제가 딜라도 삼발라 안에 세리기 열기 세시 딘데치 레나 먼저 디기 톱그레스 야 딜라 투마레 가진을 라빈베나 안에 세리 열기 줘야 게 세시다 냠바 먼저 디기 콤펠링 그레스 야 딜라 투마레 시겨 올라서 안 디다 냠도 오케이 gelala스
I'm dying to say this. The lavni to hiro chikto. Maradita tenshi roji. Goma America da lungbo mango chikla dutin sunja so sabachi and jagar sugi sidu so majuk chin kan nyokta hiuchungre. Chuni kokamatere. And the jagar ke utu jamne sure. Sure ne konzo ke atom bomb tangbo de mingla Buddha bomb stare. Wadinga lavni tos. Kansan konzo hide che du yinse de hide che du peju dai yore. Odi lavni tos. What I said was the thing that I was dying to speak was that depending upon your motivation, you can make all of this, for peace and happiness. For example, when in the beginning, when India was trying to make the first atom bomb, there was a lot of restriction. They could not get the permission. So finally, they did it, and the first bomb that they made, they give the name Buddha bomb for peace and happiness.
Also, so thank you so much, all the presenters. Gelan number ninja to Samala Tuji Chase Shui. Ane Didanyam do any Shuachilla Tirinki, so think de, Ane Samat Harme, Ane Ganzu and the Galansu Sigi, Ane Ganzo the Lonia Pargan Kamambujore, Ane Kunzuki Ganzu Tandata, Lonish Zangi, Tuchen, Sigunary, Tuchen, Didanyam do, Ganzu Getseri Leshi, the Candice to be made in Zukola, Ane Lonia Jisodiore. ane digi che do nganzu tanda anching namgyu nganzu nangchu dan seri dende kola zoba zoya de chigi rola cheza da dende ki ane chiga leshi sigi nere dende zoba chunchun ji kodik chiro chi sido cheza nganzu sangma dene ma dus che tanda wala wangbyu gi jigden yose ki ane tanda jimdun chi sa shidwa ane dela ma joya che ane dela ane ngi ngon sune ge geshi thapke lodula da geshi lodu sambuni ane thamjale dero chis ane dimaimbe ke gindu batsu ke ane konini la ta thiwa khari kuya yono ane kurochi sawe ngazu de sosa di wangbun jigden kin temden ki yen do yin tene ina kranzu ki ane thiwa de konini la khar ku yes chaza ane shambatsu ki din tala nyamshu chirochi ngazu kama khashi sringala di jignye le ya da dinde ki chewa chig do sig do so okay thank you so much so after this I request everybody to go to the debate courtyard. We will set up a short debate session where Thapkela and Sangbola will be the defenders and other monks will ask questions for them. And we are setting this thing up primary for our documentary crew, but also it's for everybody to see how monastics do debates or how they do group discussions in monasteries. Thank you. And number 9 to Sangma Khaleshin Dinema Pay.